transformation of higher education to India-centric higher education. Now, what I will talk to you about here is something very scientific and something very, very philosophical as well. So as you can see, I am speaking to you on environmental conservation and ecological ethics in the Indian knowledge system. Now, I'm assuming that participants here from various disciplines of higher education, participants who are pursuing their careers and who are practicing, who are like practitioners of higher education in various streams, be it the arts or the social sciences or the humanities or the sciences or the physical sciences or biological sciences. I'm assuming here that you know about the issue at hand with our global environment, that you are aware of climate change, that you are aware that the planet is burning, that you are aware of energy crisis, you are aware of pollution, you're aware of water scarcity, you're aware of biodiversity depletion. So we are not going to go into that. We will not talk about what are the environmental problems because we don't have the time here to explain environmental issues. Uh, we assume that the impending global environmental crisis is something that we all know about, and that there are no climate change denialists in this class. है कोई? Is there somebody who denies climate change? If yes, then first we need to settle that and then go ahead. Otherwise, I think we can go ahead talking about the Indian knowledge system and ecological ethics if everybody is presented here with the belief that climate change is for real, that it's happening, and that it is anthropocentric, that climate change has occurred over the years, over the last maximum 2 centuries, let us say, after the after the advent of the Industrial Revolution and Western colonialism. It has all happened for real, and it is our own doing, that it is anthropogenic, that if species biodiversity have been becoming extinct, it's not natural extinction. It's extinction that has been caused by what we have done to the planet's resources, to the natural habitats of wild animals and species. And it's because our lifestyle has shifted from being a conservation-centric lifestyle to today being a resource-intensive lifestyle where luxury means more, where these patterns of resource use are more exploitative than they are about conservation, than they are about the natural balance, than they are about the rhythms in nature and in natural ecosystems. तो बताइए, कोई क्लाइमेट चेंज डिनायलिस्ट है यहाँ पार्टिसिपेंट्स? Anybody? No, I think, and I'm really thankful for that. So as we said, we have shifted from balance to imbalance, from conservation to exploitation to extinction, and from harmony to disharmony. The Indian knowledge systems, which are founded on the basis of ancient texts and scriptures, the Vedas, Upanishads, and the Puranas. And because of the texts and the scriptures, the ethics for ecology that we can see in the Indian philosophy, they are imbued with the principles of sustainability and all inspirations in the Indian knowledge system, be it religious, be it scriptural, be it coming from the folk songs and the proverbs. They are all inspirations for having the philosophical foundations to live in harmony with nature, to interact with nature in such a way that the harmony in nature is not disturbed. Now, first and foremost, we have seen the origins and the foundations, the historical perspective and the philosophical foundations of the indigenous or the Indian knowledge systems. Now, in this lecture, as I'm showing you, on the basis of these 8 different philosophies and principles of the Indian knowledge system, I have tried to draw correlations between how, if practiced, if adhered to, and if embraced, then they can all be very helpful. They can all be very useful in ensuring conservation, right? So, first, ahimsa. Ahimsa, as we know, is a core principle of the IKS, and we find it in the scriptures written very clearly. Ahimsa parmo dharma. That means non-violence is the supreme religion. It's the supreme dharma. And this, I think, is the foundation for something called dharmic ecology. Dharmic ecology. If, we can build something like that, and if we can inspire. Somebody's on unmute. Dr. Kalpit Kaurase. Can we mute him? Okay, so this is a principle that emphasizes non-violence as well as compassion towards all living beings. When we say non-violence, we actually mean that we are against any harm to be caused to anyone, whether it is the biotic factors, that is the living beings, or it is the abiotic factors. So violation of any area, violation of the rights of any other animal, this is a basic concept that can be ensured by practicing non-violence against all creatures, considering that they are all creatures which are a part of the Supreme Being, seeing the Supreme Being in every creature. So coming from the scriptures, this Sanskrit term Ahimsa Parmo Dharma inspires in the Indian knowledge system to be compassionate towards all living beings and to be completely non-violent uh, by ensuring the rights of life and livelihood for all living beings. And it also advocates for the ethical treatments of animals. So these days, we have organizations like PETA and all, people for the ethical treatment of animals. And in India also, we have Mrs. Menaka Gandhi has taken up a movement, uh, and she's been pursuing it very passionately for the last couple of decades, I must say. The animal rights movements. And in our country, we also have the Animal Rights Act. And, there are activists and there are people who are ensuring um, ethical treatment to animals, whether they are domestic animals, whether they are pets, whether they are animals in the agriculture, or they are animals in the zoo, or finally, of course, animals in the wild. Now, when we advocate the ethical treatment of animals, we also recognize their intrinsic value and their rights to live free from harm. So, as I said in the very beginning of this opening slide, that when we ensure an ethical and a non-violent treatment, a compassionate treatment of all living beings, we are actually promising not to harm other creatures, not to harm other creatures. Now, when we do that, we certainly ensure ecological conservation. So, this philosophy aligns with the modern animal rights movements and it promotes existence and respect for all forms of life. Now, my dear friends, the three-pronged environmental issue today being climate, energy, and biodiversity. What does it say? It says we have to conserve biodiversity because we have to coexist. On the contrary, what is happening and what has happened? Biodiversity has depleted. Species have become extinct and populations of species have become low, thin, plummeted. Populations have plummeted. Populations have come down. The chief reasons, there are two major reasons behind biodiversity depletion. I don't think I need to tell you what is biodiversity. You know? All plants and all animals combined, all flora, all fauna, all living forms, all live forms are called biodiversity. And it's a spectrum, actually. It's not various species living in isolation of each other. We are also a part of that spectrum. I will see that with you later. So the main two reasons behind the depletion of biodiversity are habitat destruction and, can somebody say? Habitat destruction and poaching, hunting. Killing animals for game. How pathetic. How pathetic, right? Killing animals for gain. So, poaching and habitat destruction are the chief two reasons why biodiversity is getting depleted. However, there is no check on this. There is absolutely no check. Species are being killed for pleasure. Poachers are killing animals for trade. I hope you know what is trade. Hmm? They're killing animals for their meat, for their skin, for their fur, for their teeth, for their claws, for their bones, even for the bile. Even for the bile in species like bear, etc., bear bile, it is sold in the international market for some price or the other, for some product or the other. That is called wildlife trade. Hmm? Now, because of wildlife trade, we have problems like killing of animals, their populations coming down, and an illegal market in the international arena. We are not supposed to kill animals for such pleasures, right? We are not supposed to kill animals for such profits, gains, profits from the market, whether it is for selling fur, whether it is for selling um, the nails or the bones or the blood, anything. Imagine a tiger's body. Every part of a tiger's body is being sold in the international market for a price, and it fetches up to 30-40 lakh rupees for the poacher. A poacher becomes rich by 30-40 lakh rupees if they sell a tiger in the wild for various body parts from which medicines are made, and presumably these medicines are very sought after in the Chinese market. You know, local people, they believe something has an aphrodisiac, some bird has an aphrodisiac quality to it, whatever. Right? But imagine someone who believes that no, every animal has a right to live, and every animal has a right to be treated ethically, and everyone should continue to live because non-violence is the supreme dharma. So one who is not violent against any other living species will also not be a poacher, will also not be a threat to biodiversity. This is a very straight and a very direct relationship that I have pointed out. There can be many more deeper interconnections, and there can be a lot more complicated intersectionality when it comes to the relation between ahimsa or non-violence and ecological ethics. Let's go on to the next. Vasudev Kutumbakam. What does it mean? The Indian knowledge system is replete with a beautiful concept that is Vasudev Kutumbakam. Hmm? What is the meaning of Vasudev Kutumbakam? It means the world is one family. And recently, last year, you would recall, I'm sure, that when our country became mm, the the one to have the presidency of the G20 nations in 2023, when we celebrated India's presidency to the G20, the theme of the entire 1 year long series of events was Vasudev Kutumbakam. One earth, one family. One earth, one family. The whole world is my family. Vasudev Kutumbakam. Now, friends, as I said in the beginning, it is all because of anthropogenic pressures. It is all because of anthropocentric activities. And it has all been done by us. Environment. That is why we have the environmental crisis. Now, I'm showing you these two diagrams. Below, there are these two images. The first will depict the ill-conceived position of man vis-a-vis biodiversity in the Anthropocene, while the second image is indicative of its natural status in creation. So look at these images below. The first image is indicative of our own wrong conception regarding nature, regarding biodiversity, and regarding other species. What is this? What man thinks? Man thinks it is at the top. Mankind thinks that it is at the top. All the other species of flora and fauna are below mankind, whether they have existed, whether they still exist, whether they have been extinct, whatever, right? Our misconception is that we reign supreme over all other creation and we can continue to exploit them all for our selfish gains. For our very selfish gains, we can continue to exploit them. And that they don't have any rights or that they are under us. Their rights can be ensured only if they do not interfere with our selfish pleasures and our selfish objectives and our selfish interests. Right? This is a picture that denotes what went wrong in how we think. In what we think. What went wrong? We thought everything has been created for us. We didn't think that everything has been created together with us. है ना? हमने ये गलती की सोचने की कि सब कुछ हमारे लिए बनाया गया है. All plants, all animals are a kind of a raw material for us. This is what we thought. We can exploit them. We can be violent to them. We can violate their rights and we can finish them to suit our own whims and fancies. However, this was a big mistake. And this has brought us where we are today in terms of this environmental crisis. We should not have considered our own selves on the top. Instead, what is the reality? Look at the next slide. This is the actual picture. Man is not at the center of creation. Life is at the center of creation, and man is a part of it. Just like life runs through so many other creatures, and in a basic unit of design and function, in the same way, life runs through man too, or mankind too. And we have to look at every other species of flora and fauna in this context, in how we are all there on the same plane. So this picture could have been round, but anyways, it's square. And this is very, very indicative of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. One world, one earth, one family. Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. The whole earth is one family. This one looks more like a family, where the members are all existing, functioning, performing, walking ahead in life, hand in hand with each other. Be it flora, be it fauna, fish, mammals, biodiversity of all types. They are all together in this big show of life, in this big stage, on this big stage of the biosphere. Everybody's here together. Everybody's here together to perform, and our interests, our well-being, and our benefits are linked with each other, just like they are in any community. The concept of community, community development, community living, these days, community centers, places where we meet, places where we realize the importance of every member, places where we evaluate our own status in the perspective and get the right perspective upon who we are in vis-a-vis, let's say, in the context of everyone else, and where we humbly accept with full gratitude the fact that we are not the only ones. We recognize the rights of everyone and that we will not be able to survive in isolation. So, if we continue to be this, to do this, it will be disastrous. Actually, it is proving to be disastrous. You can see that this is how we are reducing populations of wild species. This is how the various layers of the food pyramid or otherwise that have been arranged below us to keep us on the top are collapsing, are crashing in, giving in one after another. And this is destined to bring us all down. This is destined to one day a collapse of us too, the Homo sapiens too. So, which is not what we want in the interest of sustainable development. This is not what we want. This is not what we would want to happen. So, the wrong perspective, these two pictures are here for you to compare. The first image depicting the ill conceived position, the wrong perception that man has developed over the years because of its selfishness. And it has happened only in the Anthropocene. It was not there before. And the second is the natural status of mankind in creation, which is neither above somebody nor below somebody, which is neither in a position to command or to exploit or to violate any rights of any species of non-human area like the birds and the mammals and the insects and the fish and the amphibians, and of course, the immense, immense diversity in the plants, in the flora and the fauna, right? So that was about the concept of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam in the Indian knowledge system. It, on the one hand, it promotes global unity. That's why it was considered as the theme of India's G20 presidency in 2023. And it emphasizes that all humans, animals, and nature are interconnected and deserve mutual respect. So this philosophy, it fosters a sense of universal brotherhood and harmony, advocating for collective well-being and coexistence. So interconnectedness, because ecology has such a multidimensional nature. So interconnectedness within nature is something we need to see and we acknowledge. The sooner the better, you know, the sooner the better. So when we see that interconnectedness between us and every other non-human species, and when we acknowledge the interdependence of the well-being of all of us, then we care, then we respect, and then we conserve. Because we are the only ones who have the capability to also destroy, to also devastate, and to also destruct. But it will be a foolish short-term gain if we decide to destroy and to destabilize the harmony in nature. Our wisdom lies in submitting to the fact that the whole world is one family. So interconnectedness between humans, animals, and nature, and because then this philosophy fosters a sense of universal brotherhood and harmony, advocating for collective well being and coexistence. Because if you understand community, you know very well that well being is collective. Hmm? Right. So now we can move on to the next. We have very clearly understood through this what's happening here. Right. In the Indian knowledge system, we have nature worship and pantheism. It comes from the concept of seeing the presence of God, the Almighty, in every creature. And there are species of flora as well as species of fauna which are worshipped by people. And goes without saying, if you worship something, you don't harm it. You revere it. You don't just protect it, you fiercely protect it. You accept the veneration of, say, for example, here in these pictures, and these pictures are just indicative. These pictures are not uh, exhaustive, I would say. There are many forms of worship in the Indian knowledge system, all across the country. I I don't know whether it will ever be possible to list all these systems of nature worship. But as an example, I have put together here these two examples of worshipping uh, fauna, and then these two examples of worshipping the flora. Mm. So every household has this little tulsi chora at the entrance or somewhere in the courtyard. And these days, if people are living in apartments, they are keeping these little tulsi plants in the flower pots. And every morning, especially the women of the house, they perform a ritual, a kind of a prayer around this plant, and they water it. They don't like let cattle graze upon it. They protect it, they give it space in their respective households. And that matters a lot because we often see these days tree plantation ceremonies, one after another, schools, government institutions, tree plantations. Dignitaries, leaders, officers, great people, they are invited, they cut ribbons, they visit hospitals, and they come out and they plant a tree. Vriksharopan जिसे कहते हैं. But we all know that only 10% of these trees probably survive because then they are met with public apathy. Public apathy. If cattle are trampling over it, nobody cares. If the trees are being watered, they are being protected from any other climatological, geographical damage, external factors, nobody cares. And within a short span of time, just a jiffy, it's gone, it's not there. Everybody forgets. What remains of that tree is the picture of the dignitary planting it with the help of a gardener and watering it. But not in case of a plant that people venerate. Not in case of tulsi. Tulsi is the basil plant, which is called Ocimum sanctum in uh, in the botanical terms. Its scientific name is Ocimum sanctum, and you will be able to decipher the word sanctum. It's Latin for sanctimonious and for sanctuary. So it has been given this sanctity, this religious sanctity. Tulsi, basil plant, has been given this religious sanctity that people worship it. Therefore, they don't harm it, and therefore they nurture it. Hmm? So nature worship may be scientific, may not be scientific, right? There may be people out there who do not believe that there is a God in it and there is a God that listens to my prayers and there's a God, in front of whom I can actually fold her hands and perform a ritual and ask him to fulfill my wishes. I mean, it's just an animal or it's just a plant, and how will they do? But when it comes to faith, then probably there are people from all faiths who rise beyond this kind of 2 + 2 4 logic. And this has a lot of power on their behavior, on their value systems, and on their ethics and morals, for which they can also sacrifice their profits, which is what we want. In case of nature protection today, in case of ecological balance today, in case of natural harmony today, more than anything, what we want is behavioral changes in people, ethical treatment of nature by people. Because then for that, you don't need any big funds, you don't need any big agencies and any big government programs coming down to plant such trees which do not even survive the next 10 days. So, this is a power that exists amongst people that we can harness without trying to reason out with them or without trying to rationalize with them whether it's correct to pray to a monkey or to pray to an elephant or to pray to a tree or to pray to a little herb, without getting into that, because faith is faith and it's best left unquestioned to the believer. It will be a great success if faith based conservation from all major religions of the world is invoked, and it will certainly be a great success for conservation. So, in terms of Indian knowledge system, these examples where people worship a tree, so very simple. If you worship a tree, you don't cut it, right? No matter what. If you have to build a road, you build the road around the tree, right? That's how it applies to animals like monkeys and elephants and snakes and many others. And that's how it applies to bushes and shrubs and many other herbs. That applies even to stones and rocks. There are mountains which are worshipped. So somebody who worships a mountain will not blow it with a dynamite. The thing is this, somebody who worships an elephant will not kill it for its ivory. Hmm? And we have examples of people. I live in Aligarh and Mathura, the city where it is believed that in the Vrindavan area, you know, uh, this is where Lord Krishna and his Ras Leela that is situated. Uh, This city has so many monkeys. They are becoming a menace. They're there on the temples, on the stairs, they're stealing away food, they are getting into houses. But people in Mathura don't kill monkeys. They don't kill monkeys because they believe that in their belief system, uh, the pantheism that they follow, there is a god that is partly a monkey, and he was a favorite of uh, the Lord Rama. That kind of belief in people's hearts doesn't let them harm these animals, despite the fact that they may be harming them. And if, unfortunately, some playful monkey gets entangled in one of the high tension wires, electrical wires, and he dies, then the people out there, they, bring out its procession, burial procession, cover it with flowers, perform a ritual, and bury it with full fanfare. So, this is what comes from a certain value system. When they have a value system that is governed by these scriptures, which have termed, or these practices, these folklores, of course, folklores too, which have termed these animals to be gods or an avatar of God, or which have turned these plants to be a reincarnation of the God. So it's actually because of reincarnation or, a second birth, and that one gets to feel a connect, a spiritual connect with these non-human species, a spiritual connect. And we can see that. We can see that in households. We can see that in communities. We can actually see that amongst people, that there is veneration, there is overt reverence and acceptance of respect for certain species of flora and fauna, because they consider to be a reincarnation of God, or they're considered to be God themselves, and people worship them. And if somebody folds hands and worships a particular non-human species, then take it for granted that they will not kill uh, this non-human species, that they will not harm in any way whatsoever this non-human species, and that they will do whatever it takes to conserve and to protect that non-human species, right? Next, I am going to talk to you about sacred groves now. And I think it's the right group where I can talk about sacred groves, because a lot of you are from Maharashtra, right? कहाँ कहाँ से हैं आप सब?
Ma'am, I'm from Madhya Pradesh, which is the highest forested area in state in India.
Wow, yes, yes. You have Kana, you have Panna, you have so many other tiger reserves and national parks, and a very good population of tigers in Madhya Pradesh.
Yes,
You,
ma'am.
yeah. So which place in Madhya Pradesh, Shivangi, Dr. Shivangi?
Ma'am, Jabalpur.
Okay, Jabalpur, right. And in Rewa in Madhya Pradesh, there used to be once the biggest population of the white tiger.
Yes, ma'am, indeed.
Yes. And from there, actually, the white tiger was found first in the jungles of Riva, and then the king there. And I must acknowledge here that a great role has been played by Indian kings and Indian rajas in because they took interest in wild animals and in wild species. So they did play a great role in protecting them and leaving some sizable populations for us when uh, the British went, and post-independence when we inherited the natural heritage of the country. So he got those pears into his personal collection. They bred there, and from there he gave them out as gifts to many other states. So we also have a population of white tigers in the Nandankanan sanctuary, which is in Bhubaneswar, Orissa, a, a good population of the white tigers. Otherwise, the white tigers are not a different species. They are albinos, and they are not found anywhere else. They haven't been termed as white tigers because maybe because of a chance mutation or something. They were born, and there is quite a good population of them. They're interbreeding also. White tigers are interbreeding amongst themselves. Um, but uh, but Madhya Pradesh has done a great job protecting them. And शिवांगी जी, आपके यहाँ ही चीता reintroduce हुआ है,
Yes, ma'am.
कुनोपालपुर.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Yes, that was again a base for reintroduction that was created for uh, more populations of lion and tiger there, so that pressures on populations in a single pocket can be relieved. It was planned that some lions from the Gir, they will be reintroduced just to have an alternative second population also. Um, like we have a good population of rhinoceros, the one-horned rhinoceros in Kaziranga. Now, we didn't want to keep them all in one place because there can be a natural disaster, there can be a forest fire, there can be a disease or epidemic or something. So we built a secondary population in the Dudhwa National Park, that is in UP. From that's, talking to somebody from MP, being in UP, I'm so ashamed to say we have only one national park in UP, Dudhwa. एक ही है यहाँ पे.
ठीक है ना.
Yeah.
15-20 तिला वेळ.
Dr. Dheeraj, are you saying something? No? Okay. So in MP, in Maharashtra, in Karnataka, in the Northeast, Meghalaya, Arunachal, near Pondicherry, as part of the Indian knowledge tradition, India has such forests and ponds and wilderness areas that are called sacred grooves. Hmm? A lovely, enigmatic term, I must say. I'm showing you a map here that shows you the distribution of sacred grooves in the country. In the Himalayas too, there are many sacred groves. Here, as I just said, in Maharashtra and Karnataka, all over the Konkan, in Uttar Kannada, Dakshin Kannada, quite a few in Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, the northeastern states. There are several sacred grooves, and I have a paper published on sacred grooves actually. If somebody is interested, I can suggest more reading on sacred grooves, and I can also refer you to my paper on sacred grooves. Sacred grooves are virgin forests. Virgin in the sense they have been there from ancient times, and they have not been violated. They are inviolate areas, no matter how poor the local community living around the sacred groves is. They do not exploit the sacred groves for their livelihood reasons. for their economic growth, for their financial productivity, progress. Why? Because the forest is believed to be the forest of a deity, किसी देवी देवता के नाम से उस जंगल को मंसूब कर दिया जाता है. And once that is done, the ancient belief might be this, that one night there was a storm, and after the storm, what we saw was the statue of a certain deity. Or they might believe that from this pond, early morning, we saw that the statue of this deity had emerged. So we made a temple for this deity here. And whatever the belief might be, as scientific modern people, you may not believe in it. I do not believe that one fine evening or one super fine morning, there can be an event like that. But I don't want to challenge the faiths of these faith communities, because as part of this, they are doing something beautiful. They are protecting the forest. So there is a tradition of several types of forests, as you know, and as I have mentioned here for you: Tapovan, Mahavan, and Srivan. Tapovan are the forests that are associated with penance. We have read stories of rishis and munis going into the forest for their tapasya and spending days and nights there with, no food, no water, no disturbance. There's a lovely, very interesting story of Rishi Durvasa being tantalized by an apsara, because, his focus was so strong that even the gods were, they were tempted to challenge him. So there was these tapovans where tapasya was being performed by the rishis and the munis and the saints and the sages, and they lived in very, very minimalistic surroundings. They lived in the forest, but they lived in complete harmony with the forest. The deer and the birds and everybody was, and all sorts of birds and mammals and animals, beautiful surroundings. They were just happy there, not by using any luxuries of life, any physical facilities, actually sacrificing these physical facilities and performing a tapasya. That could happen only in a forest. And that is why such forests were called tapovan. The next category is that of a mahavan. It refers to a grand natural forest, and they were also called the raksha, like a sanctuary for flora and fauna, because ordinary human beings were not allowed to enter these forests. They were just kept aside for the flora and fauna, the indigenous flora and fauna, and people for collecting leaves or fodder, or for bringing back headloads of fuel wood or any other minor forest produce. These days, you go to any forest area, you will find there are people who are collecting headloads of fuel wood, and they are also lopping the trees for these headloads. If they're not allowed to cut the trees, so they're lopping the branches and bringing them back. And large herds of several hundreds of cattle, livestock, goats and cows and sheep and buffalo and whatnot, are left to graze in the forest for the whole day and come back and give free milk. So this is a no investment return. The cattle will graze in the forest for the whole day, but then the cattle will come back and the owners, they get milk. So they're not investing anything, but they want milk from these cattle every day. So all that would not happen in a Tapovan or a Mahavan. That piece of land with its indigenous vegetation, with its flora and fauna, was just set aside and it was fully protected, and people were not even allowed to enter. And the final category is that of a Srivan. Srivan means the forests of the goddess of prosperity, and they also consist of dense forests and groves. So the categories are not important. What is important here is that these forests are being maintained as sacred groves. They are being protected from any kind of exploitation by man, by livestock, or by modern, these days, modern interferences for industrial economic growth. These forests are protected. Again, I will refer back to Mathura, where I have studied some sacred groves. Beautiful, if not forest, then, Nidhivan or such names. And not big forests, of course, because they are in a pilgrimage city and a lot of tourist inflow in Mathura. But people believe there's a certain woodlot with some trees where they believe that at night the gopis and Lord Krishna, they come back and they perform a Ras Leela. So nobody will enter the Nidhivan at night, and it's impossible to cut the trees or to lop the branches or even to collect leaves from the Nidhivan, because they are the playground of the Lord Krishna at night. So Mathura has a long list of sacred groves. I know in the Himalayas, the northern Himalayas, and on both sides, the western as well as the eastern Himalayas, they have um, you know, so many sacred groves where there can be a temple. They may not even be a temple, but where people protect sacred groves for their divine value, for their spiritual and for their religious reasons. So these are divine forests. The presence of a divine is seen, in a sacred grove. Madhav Gadgil and Ramchandra Guha, V.G. Vartak, these are some scholars who have written papers and who have compiled directories. And of late, in Maharashtra, there's a beautiful village called Menda Lekha. And this village, and there are many other community conserved areas and sacred groves in Maharashtra also. And this village, again, the reason behind Menda Lekha being such a great example of the human dimension of conservation is because the local villagers, the population of the indigenous people in the village, they conserve the forests. Okay. Next, shall we go on to the next? Now, this is something very interesting, and I want to share with you here. So we just spoke about tree plantation. We all know that if we have to counter or mitigate climate crisis, and we have to mitigate the energy crisis, and if we want to mitigate the biodiversity depletion, one of the ways, just one of the ways, and very simple and very doable, and no rocket science about it, one of the ways is afforestation. But we have just discussed the pathetic results of afforestation. You plant a tree and in 10 days it's gone. The sapling is nowhere to be seen because somebody has trampled over it. Nobody watered the saplings. And the dignitary who paired up in a program with a Mali is gone, not to be seen, just there in the pictures. Now, afforestation is all that important. Afforestation has these problems. But if inspired by the wisdom in the indigenous Indian systems, the wisdom that says one tree equals 10 suns. Just imagine. Just imagine. And there are many other shlokas in Sanskrit from the Puranas and from the Vedas. Here I have just given you one example because this is a very vast topic. We can't talk about the whole thing in 1.5 hours. As part of Indian knowledge system, you have to do other topics also, I know. I'm just looking at ecological conservation in the Indian knowledge system. So this is a shloka from the Matsya Purana. This is just one example. There are 10 more, and there might be 20 more shlokas in various other Puranas and various other Vedas which say afforestation, planting a tree is important. Now look at this. Dashakup samavapi dashavapi samohridah dashhrid samahaputro dashputra samodrumaha. This is the shlok which is translated as a pond equals 10 wells, a reservoir equals 10 ponds, a sun equals 10 reservoirs, and a tree equals 10 suns. Oh my God, this is just mind-boggling. 10 suns equal one tree. This is what the Matsya Purana is saying, and this is what the Matsya Purana is inspiring people to do, to plant a tree and to value it and to care for it like 10 suns. So afforestation in the Indian knowledge system will never be a management, executive, and problem of implementation if people who have inherited the earth today, they are convinced by this wisdom of the Matsya Purana that a sun equals, that a tree equals 10 suns. And there are many more. So I just spoke to you about the Mendha Lekha. I want to tell you that in our country, we have many community conserved areas. Now, they are apart from sacred groves. Why? The community conserved areas have been preserved by the community for some gain, for some sustainable mode of subsistence. But in these areas, conservation is primary. People are not harming the ecosystem, right? People are using it in a sustainable manner. So of late, I think sometime in 2007 or 9, the government of India, we also came up with an entirely new category of conservation protected area. So far, we had only national parks and sanctuaries, and now we have conservation reserved and community reserved reserves also. So these are regions that are managed by local communities, but not necessary that there will be some involvement of a deity or there will be some involvement of a divine something. So they reflect indigenous knowledge and practices, and they foster sustainable conservation. And in turn, communities are empowered to protect endangered species, and they promote harmony between humans and nature. And there are many protected areas set aside to protect flora and fauna and to preserve local traditions, cultures, and practices. If you, again, as I just said, Menda Lekha in Maharashtra, it's a community conserved area. And there are many more in Maharashtra. Right. Next is the uh, so the Bishnoi community these days is in not in very good light, but this community has been doing a lot for the conservation of nature. They are considered to be the first eco warriors of the country. This was a community that was founded by Sri Guru Jambheshwar. And there is a Guru Jambheshwar University also in Hisar that is named after him. He gave them a set of 29 niyam, and they are all principles of sustainable development, sustainable environmental practices, biodiversity conservation. Hello? So the community is instructed to use firewood without burning insects. Cutting trees is banned, and they don't even wear blue clothes because the blue dye is obtained by damaging a large number of shrubs. And they are the ones who were behind the imprisonment of Salman Khan and that case for, shooting, hunting black bucks. Because they really love the black bucks. The black buck it looks like a deer, but it's actually not a deer. It's called Antelope cervicapra. It's an antelope. The Bishnoi women even let a black buck fawn suckle upon them if the mother of the black buck fawn has died. So they are a people who are governed by the indigenous Indian knowledge systems, the niyamas that were given to them by Sri Guru Jambheshwar. And that was in the 15th, 16th century. And since then, they have been practicing this, they have been adhering to these niyamas. And these niyamas are actually all about sustainable environmental practices and biodiversity conservation and animal husbandry. Finally, we have the Sattvic diet regimen and Mitahara. So these days, diet and nutrition and exercise and weight loss and healing by food, they are all very much in fashion, right? For almost the whole world, I must say. You go to your Instagram and somebody will be telling you what to eat, what not to eat, what is good for diabetes, what is good for heart diseases, what is good for you to do, to eat, not to eat, for weight loss. I mean, there is so much of information. It's bombarding, very confusing. The Indian knowledge system promotes Sattvic diet, and it also promotes Mitahara. So Sattvic diet is a diet that will not be high in fats and sugars and such. Somebody on unmute? Amisha Malvia? Okay, can I go ahead? So Sattvic diet is something that will keep the planet in good health And that will also keep the one who consumes a sattvic diet also in good health, because it is pure, it is essential, natural, vital, clean, conscious, true, honest, wise. Meat is not a part of the sattvic diet, so it also exemplifies ahimsa. And mm, there are seasonal fruits, nuts, seeds, oils, ripe vegetables, legumes, whole grains, which are all part of the sattvic diet. They are all good for health and they are all good for the planet. So today you go to any doctor with any lifestyle disease, he'll tell you, no, eat only seasonal fruits, vegetables, nuts, and not carbs and high saturated fats and red meat. They will ask you to abstain from all that. Now, this food that is healthy for you is also healthy for the planet, because mostly these saturated fats and these high non-complex carbohydrates that we consume as part of the non-sattvic diet is also climate intensive. Gases, carbon emission, and on these factors, it is high. Say, for example, a paddy field. Paddy field is high on carbon emissions and climate change. On the contrary, millets. So a lot of people are eating millets these days. So on the contrary, millets are drought resistant, not water intensive, not climate intensive, and also good for the health. So the mantra is everything that is good for health is also good for the planet, and it is also prescribed by religion as part of the sattvic diet, the Indian knowledge system. And then there is this eating in moderation, eating less and eating in moderation. This is going to solve a lot of health problems. This is going to solve the problem of food security. And this is also going to put less pressure on the resources of the planet Earth, already under pressure to produce food for a burgeoning human population. Okay, a burgeoning human population and its changing lifestyles, where overeating has become a norm in the market, where portion sizes are growing, which of course is putting pressure on the resources of the planet, land and water and other nutrients for food production. So all that land can be set aside for uh, natural ecosystems, for wilderness, for biodiversity, for wildlife, if it is not claimed for agriculture. That's the sutra here. So smaller size portions, as also being told by nutritionists and dietitians and doctors, good for health, good for the planet, and also um, exalted by the Indian knowledge systems, Metahara. So that brings me to an end of the 8 different principles. I will again say they are not exhaustive. There can be many more. This is just my own research. And there can be a lot that can be added to it. And when this is infused into how people live, then biodiversity is conserved. So in any family, uh, you know, you can't imagine a puja and an aarti without flowers and without camphor. Um, so if you need flowers and camphor for your rituals and rites, then you will protect them. You will let there be some space for them. We have talked about Ossimum sanctum, the basil plant, be having some space for itself in every house. That's quite a service to biodiversity. Small practices like before starting to serve meals to the family in all Indian households, first the first roti is given out to the cow. So that's how, in our rites and rituals, in our practices, in what we do, in how we bring in nature, we bring in wilderness, we bring in biodiversity, non human species of biodiversity. And that's one way of keeping them alive. That's one way of continuing to give them space to be and to be there forever, so that, we have to be there forever with them. So that's all, friends. Thank you. I hope you will promote and advocate the learning of the IKS for environment conservation, because you have found it relevant. So let us encourage those living practices, and let us also encourage the the teaching of IKS for ecological conservation. Thank you very much. I'm ending my presentation here. It was such a pleasure talking to you all. If there are any questions or any discussions, I'm still here. And I'm very glad you heard me. Thank you for your patient listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for such a wonderful and insightful session towards this combination of environment and the Indian knowledge system that has you have demonstrated here for us. We are really thankful to you, participants. If you has any queries or the question or some specific observation with regards to this session, you can note down here or directly ask to Professor Abbasi, ma'am. Please anyone, now the forum is open for the discussion. Please anyone, if you have any queries or the question, you can directly ask. We will be really happy and appreciate for your efforts. Please anyone. Ma'am, one of the question from the YouTube, yes, one of the question from YouTube that he will say that the policy of the government, while we are discussing with the environment, the policy of the government is very adverse against the protecting this environment, and how we, in this scenario, how we can achieve these targets, whatever may be the said during this session by you.
Policy of the government, I don't think is adverse, but of course, it's a fact that when it comes to the fight between development and conservation, then sometimes conservation loses the battle. Because development means money, because it means economic growth, and because so they are at loggerheads, and there is quite a conflict between the two. Uh, that is why we are trying to invoke people's support for conservation when it comes to nature conservation, because, as I said, when it's the faith, then it has a lot of power. It exercises a lot of power on how the individual behaves, how the individual reacts. So it's a fact that the government will not come to look after the trees that you plant. It will maximum, afforestation initiative, and then the scheme is over, the project is over, the government will be gone. We can, on the contrary, because we have been invoked by the Indian knowledge systems, by the faith, we can just continue to do our bit. So there's a question by Shivangi madam also. She wants,
Yes, ma'am, in the chat box, please.
some reading material she's asking me to recommend. So as I said, you can read Madhav Gadgil, some of his books, Social Ecology and This Fissured Land. And Ramchandra Guha has also collaborated with him. V.G. Vartak also. He's also worked on the sacred groves of India. You can read such books. But per se, on this entire topic, there are hardly any books right now. Environment and Indian knowledge system, because Indian knowledge system, as you know, it's a very new and upcoming interest these days. So nobody was working on it earlier. Now that there is so much of focus after NEP on the Indian knowledge system, there will be there will be more to read. What I have told you here is out of my own background in wildlife and my interest in philosophy, religion, and history, and culture, of course. A lot of interest in culture. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for such a wonderful and insightful session towards this environment and ecology with special reference to the Indian knowledge system. We are really thankful to you for sharing your precious time and the knowledge on this platform. And definitely, ma'am, we will inculcate these things in our research, in our daily teaching learning, and for achieve the sustainable the goals of sustainable development that has been identified to develop our country, ultimately to develop our country. So on behalf of Malvi Mission Teacher Training Center, Sant Gadge Baba Amravati University and Tulsiram Gaikwad Patil College of Engineering and Technology, I extend my heartfelt gratitude and sincere thanks to you for being with us, enlighten us and sharing your precious time here. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And with the kind consent of Professor Abbasi, ma'am, I would like to declare that this session will be over here and we will continue for the next session. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so friends, we will continue for the next session that is also based on the Indian knowledge system. First part almost we have covered here, and definitely ma'am has provided insightful, very much important insightful towards the conservation of this environmental and ecology with special reference to the Indian knowledge system. Now we are going to cover the another part of this IKS with the help of the another experts, and for delivering and enlighten us towards the this Indian knowledge system, we have with us a very great and charming personality, Dr. Kolama Lakshmi ma'am. Ma'am, warm welcome in behalf of the Malvi Mission Teacher Training Center, Sant Gadge Baba Amravati University, and Dr. Tulsiram Gaikwad Patil College of Engineering and Technology to this flagship program. Friends, Dr. Kolama Lakshmi ma'am is presently is an individual trainer. She is a former guest faculty as well as the part time at the Department of Education in the Gandhigram Rural Institute, that is a rural that is a Dean University situated in the Gandhigram, Tamil Nadu. Friends, you know that this university has already doing very much things in the community development with specific reference to the national education policy, and the national education policy has pay more emphasis on these community based activities. And you know that the community based participatory research and the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan was already introduced by the government of India to collaboration between the higher education society as well as the communities and our society. So to inculcate this thing in the national education policy, the IKS is a very important topics, and man will enlighten on that topic. As far as concerned with her research experience, she has more than 18 year 2 decades of research experience, and under his able guidance, 4 candidates had been awarded with the MPhil degree, and 4 candidates are undergoing for the PhD degree. She has published more than 50 research publication in the national as well as the international journal. She has also delivered n number of lectures in the national conferences, international conferences, faculty development program, and specifically in the Malvi Mission Teacher Training Centers in the across country. So she has a vast background of this domain. So ma'am, I will not take much more time. I again extend my warm welcome to you and request you to start with your session. Ma'am, please. Ma'am, you are not audible, ma'am. Hello, Dr. Kolama Lakshmi, ma'am, you are not audible. Oh, ma'am, you are not audible, ma'am, here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please. I'm not audible.
Yes, ma'am, now it is audible, ma'am. Now it is
Can
audible.
you hear me now? Now? Now I have unmuted. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. I think your bandwidth is very low. So we can do it one thing. You can stop your video. Your bandwidth is, I think, very low, ma'am.
Now am I audible?
Yeah, ma'am, you are audible, but I think your bandwidth is very low, ma'am. So if it will be feasible for you, you can stop your video, ma'am.
Yes. Sometime it is going back.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Now it is very
Okay.
clear, ma'am.
The
Now it is very
opportunity and
much
the
clear.
introduction and the technology and MMTTC online sensitization. Okay. Yes, yeah. Once the screen, what shall we do, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Please
Shall I
continue.
share the
Yes,
screen?
ma'am. Yeah, please continue, ma'am. Please continue. Now it is very much better. Please continue, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, I will share the screen. Yeah, can you able to see the screen? Sir, am I
Yes, ma'am.
audible?
You are audible. It is just sharing, ma'am.
Yeah, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Please wait for only 1 minute. It is just sharing, ma'am, here.
Please inform me once it is shared. Is it shared? Sir, is it audible? Is it visible?
8 knot, ma'am. 8 knot.
Okay, shall I try with my mobile, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Now it is visible, ma'am. Now it is visible. You can continue. Please continue, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I take this opportunity to thank our director, sir, respected Professor Muhammad Atti, QGC MMTTC, Santigedge Baba, Amravati University. And this is my time to convey my thanks to the participants for attending this session on Indian knowledge system. Now, as a part of that Indian knowledge system, we are going to see what is happening, what is the guidance given in the National Education Policy 2020. So, during this session, we are going to see about the contents and guidelines given by the teams under the theme MMTTC program. So, the vision of this policy is an education system rooted in Indian ethos that contributes directly to transforming India, that is Bharat, sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. That is quality education to all. So this is the vision, that is that every Indian should have that deep rooted Indian ethos from the education point of view. And the curriculum and pedagogy of our institution must develop a deep sense of respect towards the fundamental duties. So, being an Indian, being the citizen, what are all the fundamental duties and constitutional values bonding with one's country? That is patriotic feeling, patriotic attachment, sense of belongingness. That and all we should inculcate to the students through education. Then third point expected is that we have to instill a deep rooted pride in being Indian, not only in thoughts but also in spirit, intellect, and deeds, as well as to develop knowledge, skills. Skill means the expert in doing some work, practice of executing or performing or demonstrating an event or action. Then values and the disposition that support responsible commitment to human rights. We should have that humanistic outlook, sustainable development and living and global well-being. So global well-being is the expectation and it is the vision, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. So that we do know that as per Indian knowledge system, Vasudeva Kudumbakam, that is the whole world is one family, everyone is the part and parcel of that family, that is everyone is a family member of the Vasudeva Kudumbakam. So it is a truly global citizen. Meaning what? We should take responsibility and active participation in the global issues and provide solutions in solving the problem of global issues. So that is called a truly global citizen. So now Indian knowledge system, as per in MMTTC theme, we have covered so much of topics under the themes sub theme 1, sub theme 2, and sub theme 3. So sub theme 1, broad overview and sources of Indian knowledge system. So it is going back and identifying the sources, resources, what is the timeline, how are they educate, how are the skill power, what is the living standard, quality, everything is discussed under sub theme 1. Then sub-theme 2, that is vocabulary of IKS. So vocabulary of IKS means what? See, we do know what is actually a vocabulary in English, in any language. So it has its own contextual meaning, abbreviated with the word or meaning, synonyms, antonym in thesaurus, dictionary. Likewise, what and all the words? Of course, it is in Sanskrit. That was the language, ancient Indian language. Then, what is the relevant meaning? It is translated in English here. So, what is that vocabulary of IKS? IKS stands for Indian Knowledge System. Then the third theme is methods in IKS. So methods means what? So methods means how did those people, those ancient Indians, those people lived in the Bharatian region, lived and their culture of living, standard of living, their societal setup, and their philosophy, psychology, then their spiritual connectivity, everything is discussed in the methods in Indian knowledge system. So, this is the coverage area where we are going to see about the sources, the vocabulary, and the way they lived in. So, this is the themes. So, before that, I would like to give the virtual imagination about our ancient Indian history. So, you remember, you all just being that you can close your eyes. This is one sensor and five sensory inputs for every human. Then we can imagine and assume what will happen, what would be happened, what had happened in the earlier time. So there were period, you can imagine the globe, and in the globe Indian structure, in that Indian, what is the land area, geographical area. So there is one river. That river is Sindhu Ganga. So Sindhu Ganga river. So Sindhu Ganga river is termed as Indus Gangetic river. So Indus Valley civilization means in under the civilized people and near the river Sindhu, and another area is near the river Ganga. So Indus Valley civilization and Gangetic civilization and the whole area covered this is that a time period we are going to see. One is Indus Valley civilization, another one is Gangetic civilization. In between, we have Vedic period, that is Vedic civilization. So now we are in the common era, that is 2024. Before that, what is Indus Valley civilization? We should go back no flashback. We have to think and remember 3300 BCE. It is a tentative timeline available in the history in the all the secondary library resource material. Invariably it is given 3300 BCE. It is also known as Harappan civilization. It flourished in the Indus River Valley, modern day Pakistan, and northwestern India. It was one of the world's earliest urban civilization. So we knew that that is Indus Valley civilization. Then Vedic civilization, by that time 1500 BCE to 500 BCE, Vedic period marks the composition of Vedas and the establishment of early Hindu social, religious, and cultural practices. So social, religious, and cultural. Then Gangetic civilization, that is from in between. It begins in between and it continue and end with the 500 BCE. So this is Gangetic plans focusing on the rise of Mahajanpadas, the emergence of urban settlements, and development of religions like Buddhism and Jainism. So the major construction of Bharat is from that Indus Valley civilization and Gangetic civilization and Vedic period civilization. So this is that outline and the geographic representation for Gangetic civilization along the Ganges River and its plain in northern India. Parts of Nepal includes present-day Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, and Bangladesh. The time period we knew that between 1000 BCE to 500 BCE. Then that civilization we have Mahajanpads. Then the political structure is rise of kingdoms and republics. So that this is the kind of period where the Mahajanpadas were evolved and the kingdoms have been coming up, and every region is controlled or administrated or advocated by the king and followers philosophy. Then social structure, evolution of Varma system. See, we all knew that Varna system only, if we remember Indian knowledge system, the next moment we came to know about Varna system. That is the end of that Indian knowledge system. That is 500 BC at the last time only evolution of Varna system. Before that, there is that Vedic period, and before that, Indus Valley civilization is also available. So that in that so end of the Gangetic civilization only, that Varnashram system of societal setup was established. So religion and philosophy we have as it is Varnashram, no? So Brahminical traditions continued, and at the end of that, Buddhism and Jainism came, and then slowly, when the Buddhism and Jainism comes into play, this Brahminical tradition was slowly diminishing. If the Buddhism and Jainism are beginning. So this is that Gangetic civilization. In the Gangetic civilization only, this Varnasrama and grammatical traditions were evolved. Then urbanization, they have urban centers, administrative systems in places like Magadha. Then cultural contributions. Now every year we do changes in the names, no? So Bharat is changed into India. So Indus River, Sindhu River is renamed as Hindu River. Then that H is replaced with I, Indus. So Sindhu, S replaced with H, and also H is replaced with I. So this is the replacement of Sindhu river. That Sindhu means, Sindhu is one of the river. That is, 5 rivers are going through the state Punjab. That is Panch river. That one of the river name is Sindhu. So Sindhu river is, slowly they used to change it as Hindu river, Indus river. Then they replace the Hutch with Indus river. So Punjab, the Sindhu river is going, river is flowing, and then that area is called as Indus Valley civilization. In the Gangetic, Nepal, and then this kind of region, it is called Gangetic civilization. So that is northern part. That is Brahmanical traditions evolved. So Vedic religion is in between the religion where this with the in the river beds they have developed some Vedic civilization. So key features in Gangetic features is Siddhartha Buddha, Gautama Buddha and Mahavira have been nourished, and they are the key figures in that Gangetic civilization. So agriculture is the main focus, and the decline of that Maurya empire. So modern Indian culture, religion, and governance, everything has been transformed from Vedic civilization to modern Indian culture. So this is what. What is Gangetic civilization we have seen. So what is the previous first? That is that Sindhu River, no? That Indus Valley civilization. It is around 3,300 BCE. So northern part, that Punjab, the river Sindhu, among the rivers, one river is Sindhu. Then Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. So the cities covered Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, all the cities, and the urbanization is it is rural settlements and small villages in Vedic civilization. They grouped together, and small villages they have formed, and then they started that philosophical thought process and spiritual intelligence, and the Indian philosophy have been rooted through this Vedic civilization. Then economy through during that period is based on trade, agriculture, and craft production, wheat, barley, and then economy is based on cattle herding and trade. Writing system, they have the script called Indus script, which is still undeciphered. Then we know that no known script, that is Vedas are the oral transmission. They heard listening and speaking academic skills. Then religion, then it is polytheistic, possibly nature-based worship, emphasis on fertility. So nature-based worship means they worship river, they worship mountain, they worship that air, all these things. They support, that is earlier class, that environment and ecosystem. So their food habits, the both are benefited. They understood that nature and ecosystem and climates are responsible for their living and survival. So they worship everything, they preserve, they took the responsibility of preserving the nature. So what is Vedic civilization? So Vedic means polytheistic and with worship of deities. Now in Vedic civilization, it comes for deity means we do have that idol. So Vishnu have some bronze idol, and then we do have the temple structure and the pujas and the offerings and then prayers and bhajans and chanting mantras, slokas. So all these comes in the Vedic civilization. So then the time period we have seen, social culture is Indus Valley is they had a caste system, but what is that? No, they based on the work. So work means what? The land area is divided into 5 parts, and then each part is having its own kind of employment, and they have that setup, social setup particular to that particular employment, and they all are entrepreneurs, employers. They live a sustainable, happy living. So this is like a community-based one. Here we have in Vedic civilization, they have that caste system, but it was the earlier stage where Brahmin, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras have been drafted. And technological advances, they have that water management, metallurgy. So metallurgy means they have that metallurgy and idol preparation, and then stones, and then weapons, and then ornaments. All these things they had in the Indus Valley civilization. And then in the oral literature, they have some Vedas. I mean, chariots, iron tools. Chariots means they have that buffalo, they have that palki, palak, all these things. Then arts and architecture, highly advanced architecture, standardized urban planning and sculptures. We know that sculptures and seals, they have seals. Seal means representing that authorized or authoritative power or authoritative ownership, advocacy, everything is measured in seal. So this is standardized urban planning. They have that what do you call, from birth to death, everything is following some standard, some guidelines, some protocol in the Indus Valley civilization. And then here they are following some oral literature. It is followed to through oral communication. Then political structure, it is likely theocratic and decentralized structure. No clear evidence because the community people, they are skilled in one work, and they occupy on the land area. They are the entrepreneur. They lived with the sufficient resources and well stable environment, balanced neutral living structure. So there is no ownership or kingship. Whereas here in tribal and clan based organization, they have layered and classified the people, the humans, in the Vedic civilization. So decline means the Vedic civilization, when it goes when it's grooming, no, slowly this skill based, entrepreneur based, community based, environmental based, everything is declining. So we are facing that environmental changes, all these things. So here Vedic civilization is gradual decline due to shifting tribal migration due to unclear but no clear singular cause. So what happened? So people, as there is layers of people, and there is no surety of standard and secured life, so they are migrating from the rural area to urban area. So there is a decline because of that, as there is no people following the criteria or guidelines. So the major text they have seals and inscriptions. Here they have the way script: Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda. These are the primary text. Four Vedas they are mentioning. Of course, it is oral. Now it is the Sanskrit scripts were there, and it is Vedas. So this is the timeline of ancient Indian history. So see, Indus River in Punjab, that is Hindu River. Then it is given the name Indus River because it is very hard to pronounce, no. Then it is the time period between 3300 BCE to 1300 BCE. In between, Vedic civilization begins. So, wherein comes to that Vyasa of Veda, Veda Vyasar. Veda Vyasar is the name of the same Rishi, and we had that famous epics Ramayana and Mahabharata, all these things. Then they have the Indian philosophy that for spiritual intelligence was at the top. So they defined the light, the chemistry, the biology, the astronomy. All these things were good, but we don't have the proper recording and proper documentation and proper evidence. But it is orally transmitted in the Varna wise. So then Mahabharata war, then Gangetic civilization comes into play. At the end of the Gangetic civilization, the Brahmanic administration is declining, and Mahavira and Buddha is emerging slowly. Then later, Adi Shankara comes into play, and he unite all the, see, worshipping that in the Indus Valley civilization they have gathered depending on the nature, no. There are five types of land types, and they worship their own separate. They have their own language, their own skill, their own profession, their own culture, their own communication. So this is all grouped together, and he related it is a common religion and philosophy. combining all these things and making that Indian philosophy or Hindu philosophy known to every region. So by this time only invasion comes into play. So now what we know, when we know that Indian knowledge system, no, we knew Ramayana, Mahabharata, we knew that Buddha and Mahavir, we know Jains, and what is the time period, how it evolves, it is all studying that Indian knowledge system. So this Adi Shankara unites all these things and establish we are all one, and we all the children of that Bharat, and then we love each other, we should be united, we are brothers and sisters, we have our own distinct qualities, and he unites all these and put together as a whole, and it becomes nowadays called as Hindu religion. And then Alexander's visit to India. So far it is all these are all the products of India only. So here everybody belonging to this land area, whereas he is Alexander is visiting to India, he is from some other civilization. So now this is the time period. I hope you can see this timeline of ancient Indian history, Indus Valley from the 1500 to 1000. We go for Vedic civilization, from Vedic civilization to Gangetic civilization. From Gangetic civilization, Alexander visit to India. Then Alexander visit to India, what happened? We all knew. So, because when Adi Shankara came, no, that Gangetic civilization, we have that Varnasrama policies and philosophies. Before that, it was not, it is nature specific only in Indus Valley civilization. And in Vedic civilization, they have idol worship and they have distinctive feature. But when we go for Gangetic civilization, Varnasrama has comes into play. By that time, this Alexander visit to India. So what happened when he visited India? This after Buddha formation of Mahajanpatas, that is 600 BCE to 321 BCE. That means area wise people are ruling. They have their own setup. They have their kingship. That time it was emerging like that king and followers and the peoples and citizens. Then that we know Gautam Buddha is also the king, the son of king. Then emerging of Buddhism and Jainism. Then Maurya emperor, we know that Chandragupta Maurya and Ashoka. He is a great emperor, and this is the period 185. Then after that, post Mauryan dynasties. So dynasties comes into play after Alexander's visit. So dynasties we have Mauryan dynasty we have so Mauryan dynasties also is splitted into small regions, Shangwa, Kanva and others. Then the last period is Gupta Empire. So Gupta Empire, golden age of India. So we remember only two things. One is what you call that Varnashrama philosophy, and the second one is Gupta period, golden age of India, Bharat, where the people of that Bharat were good in all domains, astronomy, astrology, philosophy, architecture, agriculture, metallurgy, war, weapon, communication, art, craft, dance, music, instruments. So that was that golden period that we know in Indian knowledge system. So then post Gupta period, it is all rise of regional kingdoms. So then trade comes because the third invasion comes, no, that slowly Gupta period comes into down declining. Then there comes Delhi Sultanate. So invasion comes, that is 1000, that is 12th century, that we knew, we hardly remember. Then Islamic rules, cultural influence. So far it is that only this religion people, this rooted people, this people, those who belonging to this both river are living, and where that Delhi Sultanate is also coming from outside. That is the period of it is given 12,000 CE to 15 300 years. So what they have done, They identify the cultural differences. They identify that layers and the standard and living, the treatment, everything. They also find, no, that is one expansion of knowledge. It is coming inside, no. So they saw some differences. They do have that mercy. They do want to help. They do want to support. So that exploration of love, that exploration of knowledge has happened during that arrival of Delhi Sultanate, and they develop their communicational language, and that they also become that rulers, and that become Mughal Empire. So now it becomes, now is that time wherein the it may be because of the entire occupation of that Mughal outside, or it may be between the marriages and the siblings and the childrens and the offsprings. They become the Mughal Empire. Either mother may be an Bharatiyan or the father may be the Bharatiyan. So like that, they have that unity. That is that that what do you call, that cordial relationship established, that results in that survival and evolution of Mughal Empire. So that is the period that is between 1500 to 1800. They were at the peak. They love all. They also do contributions as though those Gupta's period. They continued it. They love that. They do so many good things to those all who are underprivileged, and they protect everyone. All these had happened. Hence, why they were able to establish a ruling party in the 1500. Then after that, this British colonial period comes into existence. By that time, that independence struggle, they realized that somebody else coming and somebody else is ruling. We have to rule our own thing. They had that ideology. Then they started that independent movement. That independence, we knew that after that 1947 till from present, we are as a we emerged as we evolved as Indian Democratic Republic. So this is what that Indian knowledge system, the whole timeline, how the people lived, how the people share their knowledge from one generation to the next generation, how they attract other people outside other rivers, how do they come, why we are not going outside, why we stayed together inside the boundary line, what makes that spiritual intelligence to stick on to the boundary level, why we don't want to go and conquer some other country, what is the state of mind, that is marriage, birth, the death, the rituals, the chantings, the nature, all these things put together as the Indian knowledge system. Even that Delhi Sultanate period, the building structure, the architecture, everything comes under this one. So this is all we have to see, the goodness, the positive side, the knowledge sharing, their contributions, till date, how the whole humanity, whole Indians have been groomed. Their contributions we have to see in the Indian knowledge system. So that we knew that after Gangetic civilization only, that Varnasrama comes into play. That Varnasrama, due to that influence, Buddhist and Jainist comes into play. Then Buddhist comes, and then Maurya dynasty, Gupta empire, and Sultanate arrival, and Mughal empire, then British colonial period, then independent India. Now we are in 2024, and we are studying our, what do you call, here we have seen that what is Sunga dynasty, Kanva dynasty, Satavahana dynasty, central southern part, Satavahanas control central and southern India, known for promoting trade, particularly maritime commerce, and spreading Buddhism across the Deccan regions. So the whole Bharat, how it is being united in the Indus Valley civilization, how it is shifted, and who has ruled, what is their community, society, architecture, the construction of that entire human society is all the significance of Indian knowledge system. that everything matters. So after Gupta dynasty, we have that Mahajanpatas, that Buddhist Maurya, post-Mauryan period, then Delhi Sultanate, Mughal Empire. Mughal Empire, we got to see something good. So where we have see Babur, Battle of Panipat, Akbar, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb. We all knew what are all the goodness, Deen Ilahi, and everything. Everything matters because these people have contributed more to that time with the limitations of that particular period. Oh, it was not happen. It could not. Now we can speak, but by that time, it was the only choice to take such decisions. So we have to submit our salute to those Mughal empires who contributed well for the establishment of and taking to the next higher level from Gangetic civilization and their disadvantages and their limitations to the next level. So next, British colonial period, what happened to that Mughal empire? We do not know. That history is we have to find out. That is the purpose of Indian knowledge system. Then they came to India as a trade and commerce. Then they occupy, they conquer. That the history everybody knows. So this is the geographical region of Gangetic, Indo-Gangetic. See, from Punjab to Bangladesh here till that we have that entire Bharat, North Bharat. Now this is Indus Valley achievements, the climate changes, the rivers, the planets, the weather conditions, everything they have given through the scripts. By that time, it was called as Indian subcontinent. Now it is India is a nation and a country. Earlier, it was India subcontinent. So now this is all about that timeline period. What is comprising the Indian knowledge system? Every piece of information, the transmitting the goodness and the support and the contributions of every individual lived in that period is a knowledge resource. So we should not leave anything, everything matters. So that is that Indian knowledge system we are going to take, that is deep rooted Indian knowledge system, and we have to transmit to the next generation, making them unite together and then feeling like they are one family member. And then the global citizenship also, that kind of attitude building is what the expected outcome of Indian knowledge system. So in the Vedic philosophy, they have that spiritual culture of Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, four yugas. So in the Hindu cosmology, this is one part in that philosophy. So philosophy is also a part where every individual has a right to speak and argue and propose their ideas and concepts. So Hindu cosmology time is divided into four yugas. So their major component is time travel, all these things. So four yugas, which together from Mahayuga, sorry, from great, they identified because of their inner vision, that is yada drishti tada drishti. So inner vision, they meditate, they control all the five sensory organs, they attach with a smooth frictionless life with nature. They lived in that harmony of climate and environment, so they attract the information and communication, and they are able to transmit the high level knowledge that is under during those periods Mahayuga. So Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga. Maybe it is translated, but the true word I think it is from Sanskrit. So Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, they calculated the duration as 1,077,020 1,728,000 years. Then Treta Yuga, 1,296,000 years. So this is how they calculated, and that higher order thinking skill power is that cognitive development. So Lord Vishnu, Satya Yuga incarnation. So this is that. So Anubandha Chatyustaya in Indian philosophy is four components of any text. that determines its relevance and meaning. So, what is that in Indian philosophy? Anubandha Chatustaya. That is four components of any text. Then Dwapara Yuga, that is the Bronze Age, that is 864,000 years ago. Then Kali Yuga is 432,000 years to till dirt. That is total duration. Now we are in the Kali Yuga. At the end of the Kali Yuga, the whole world is again coming to the end. From the beginning, it is recycling. That is infinite cycle. So this is that Indian philosophy in cosmos. So incorporation of both material and spiritual knowledge is a key feature of the Indian knowledge system. So incorporation means what? A man must realize the spiritual being. He is associated with the nature. He is the protein brands and protein components inside his chromosome is similar to that components in the nature. So what is that connectivity? Knowing that is that spiritual knowledge. Then material knowledge means what? We have to live with the harmony. We have to live that, give value and respect to every creature, every living being. So we have to live for our life in this materialistic world. So there are, so outside journey, inside journey. So self knowledge and spiritual knowledge are the key feature in the Indian knowledge system. That is in those periods, that is what you call the Mahajana Buddhism and the Jainism, and during till that period, they gave importance to both materialistic knowledge and spiritual knowledge. So we come to that Gupta period, Aryabhatta. We knew that in the context of IKS, the term Tantra Yukti, Tantram. Tantram means that is that planning. So escaping or identifying others' cunning plans. We have some methods or technique. So Tantra Yukti refers to a technique or method employed in spiritual and practical disciplines. So he is a man, Aryabhatta. He is good in mathematics, geometry, geographical structure, geometric shapes, all the temples and idols, the shapes, drawings, everything. That Gupta period, no, he is the man. Now, Indus Valley civilization, Vedic culture, they lived in a harmony. They transmit with that the inner vision. They got information. Their higher order thinking level, cognitive development is good. They transmit knowledge to the disciples, not through that biological relationship. They, that is Guru Shishya Parampara, Gurukula system. Everybody comes into that school, that Gurukula, the teacher, that Rishi who is getting information, who is the source. Now we have textbooks, these online gadgets and all. Earlier they got all these things, this Wi-Fi communication with the cosmos. So those Vedic culture, Guru Shishya Parampara, they transmit that ethical standards and protocols for living in harmony with the nature and other creatures. So that is that Gurukula education system. So that they had this economy also. Everything was wealthy and everyone was good, and the knowledge is transmitted from the guru to the sishyas, students, disciples. So these are all the geometric figures. We know the rishis, they have that insights by controlling all the five senses. They don't go beyond the senses and dependent on the materialistic life, that is fulfilling the needs of the body. They controlled it. They gained some supernatural power, and these rishis had the vision of super geographical drawings, and accordingly they identify how to attract energy from the resources and how to transmit those energies to that, see, similar solar panel. The solar panel is receiving energy from sun, and it is stored in the battery, and it is used in all the parts, all the applications. So this is how that Vedic contributions in geometry. Now the same philosophy, we are Sanskrit role in advancing that AI, how the same principle is deployed, no? So the AI, that intelligence can be used for so many applications. So this is that the tools and techniques we can retrieve by using this AI. So chemistry of behavior. So the spiritual intelligence is all about how human behavior, what happened to the flesh, that is chemically decaying body, aging body. After death, what happened to that spirit, or what is meant by soul, what is the destiny of the soul, what is the purpose of birth, all these things, and how one can, what is the difference, and what is that why one is good in all aspect and why is not good in that, why one's leg is not like this, why is what is the difference in birth differences, is what is the purpose. So they had a thought process, and that thought process results in some ideology, and they identify that chromosome pattern of those transmission of ideologies from generations to generation, and they defined the chemistry of behavior. So chemistry of behavior they have defined, that is one aspect of Indian knowledge system. So karma and samsara. So karma means that is why is one is always suffering though he is good, why is he is not getting affected though he is doing ill things. So what is that reason? So they identified that of course karma is the basic root, then samskara, how do people live. So they defined living a life in accordance with some righteous rule that accumulate positive karma in the chromosomic effect, and it is transmitted to the next generation. So mental discipline and yoga. Yoga is a philosophy wherein breathe count, oxygen is taken inside and holding that oxygen. See, this is how taking the solar system and retaining the solar system and using it for various applications like fan and the motor and then UPS and then TV and radio. We are using that solar energy, no. Similarly, yoga, they have taken that air inside and hold it inside and making use of it, the good functioning of all parts of the body. So that they identified by their self control and yogic nature. So that yogic nature means they controlled all the senses and they grabbed the attention and identified the messages or the significance from the nature. So they identify that the food, the input to the body defines the life structure. So diet and lifestyle. So in the context of Vedic, so Hinduism means the Sindhu is translated to Hindu. Hindu is again translated to Hindu. So the it's a profound emphasis on the significance of dietary choices. So they identified that. So earlier it was all on the before that Indus Valley civilization, everybody was eating everything whichever comes into their hand. That was that evolution of human beings. But once the knowledge has come into, once the education is given, once the awareness is given, no, then we have to change, we have to transform that. So that had happened, the lifestyle has changed, and they have that energy of to power their mind, body and intellect. So the quality of this energy source has a direct bearing on an individual's behavior. So food, input to the body, input to the mind, input to the thought matters. They defined the chemistry or what you call alchemy of the human behavior. So Indian philosophy, we they have identified, calculated the speed of light. It is mentioned in Rig Veda. See, they have given a 6,000 years old. So, as there is no record, from where the record is brought it now, no, we are keeping the record. One time it is given 6,000 years. Sometimes it is given 3,000 years. But year is not a matter, but the subject or content is that they are good in all knowledge. So this is that point where we come to that end of to realize or to remember the glory of Indians, the glory of Bharatiyans, the glory of Indus Valley civilization people. Now we come to the directly straight away jump into what do you call a present Indian knowledge system NEP 2020 MMTTC scheme and syllabus. Now we have a context and we have to discuss and we are going for next step. This is that teaching learning process we are dealing in today's knowledge sharing system. So survey of IK domains, these are all the key topics through which we can share the Indian knowledge system. So definition means what? So far we have seen the overview of Indian knowledge system. That is that overview. Now we are getting to directly to the subject matter, a comprehensive knowledge system encompassing philosophy, science, art, and spiritual practices, so integral to India's cultural heritage. So still now there are buildings we are pertaining, 1,000 years of buildings are there, no decay. But now our engineers who built a bridge 6 months back, it is broken down, because not because that academy is poor, but the environment change is very poor. That time the air was pure, the river was pure, now the river is highly polluted. Our expected estimation of the life of the any building is 5 years, 10 years, means corrosion is more. So we cannot predict that education is going down. No, no, not like that. That environment is disturbing a lot. So the definition of IKS is philosophy, science, art, and spiritual practices. Then core area, we have maths, we have astronomy, we have medicine, art and culture, and ritual and spirituality. So historical development, Vedas, we have Upanishad, Brahmans, and Aranyaks. So it is Vedas is a oral script, no? The guru is transmitting to the student. The guru, how did he got? Because of his tava, yogic behavior. Then these are all the explanation and script format and insights of famous students. Then that classical period is specialized text. They have Puranas, Shastras, and Sutras. Sutra means formulas. So what is a formula? How to combine this? We knew formula is a single word you can easily understand. Shastra means practices we have to do this and this and this is by this type, by this type. Then Puranas means we knew that so people lived it. It may be a story or a living story or a imaginative story. That arguments are going on, but a Purana is a specialized text. Then martial arts, they have that Dhanur Veda. Dhanur means in Sanskrit that is bow and arrow. Dhanur means bow and arrow. Arjuna is the king. We knew that. And astrology, we knew Jyotisha. Why this? What is the radiation of other planets affecting on that particular human or any entity on the globe? That is calculation is called Jyotisha. Ayurveda is mixing of herbal plants to cure some diseases and taking these medicines inside the body and curing that parts of the body. Then medieval period, bhakti and tantric traditions. So this is that main period where when we are not able to cope up, no, we don't have time, something like that. So by that time they use that bhakti is enough. So if I call, okay, why if mummy gives any medicine, na, it is good for me, then the child will eat. When the child crosses the adolescent period, na, the child will not tell to the will not listen to the mother's word. No, no, no. What is that? What is that? You tell me what is good, what is bad. So bhakti means bluntly they are believing and trusting, and tantric means technique or escaping and doubting or protecting, shielding in both aspect, both the positive side as well as the negative side. So then medieval period, we knew that Persians and Arabic influences come into IKS. So till that Upanishad, Vedas, and then Puranas, Shastras means how the best practices of living being and formulas to create geometric shapes or employability, sutras, that is formulas. And then Ayurvedas and Dhanurveda, that is warfare to protect that belongings and to protect from animals, all these things, Dhanurveda. Then Jyotisa is predicting the future, why it is happened to me, why it is only for me, all these questions Jyotisha is a place where we can get a proper guidance. They will guide us, go by this way. It is like a that a road map or a route map. It is like a Google map only. You can go and refer what to do. In this period is very difficult. How can I cross this period? Any guidelines like that? No, that is Jyotisha. Then survey. This knowledge is still now there, and students are studying. People are following. It is being the professional for people. So everything matters. These all we have to put together inside that common and formal education system. That means education for all. Everybody can read it, everybody can apply it, and everybody manifest into a better being. Then survey of IKS domain, Vedanta, philosophy of the self and the universe. From Veda, it is discipline Vedanta. Sankhya, that is duality cosmology. That is Sankhya means all the elements. Now we know that in chemistry, that periodic table elements, no, that Sankhya defines those elements. Then yoga, we have that physical and spiritual discipline. Ayurveda, that medicine. Jyotisha, Dhanurveda. Then poetry and Natya Shastra, that is theatre arts. So this is the domains we have. Then sources of IKS knowledge, from where we are getting all this information. Everything should be documented. Now we knew that everything in the NEP policy, IPR cell, copyright cell, everything we should find out, and we have to transmit that to the technology and make it as a digital document and save it for the future generation. So now we are lagging those information. Now we are searching. So what are all the sources? Is the sources of IKS knowledge. Primary sources is Shruti and Smriti. Shruti is the divine relations that is directly connected to the Guru and the cosmic energy, divine relations. Smriti is human composition, the disciples who, that means disciple means students who got knowledge from the Guru. They give descriptions, notes, lectures, and explanatory documents, that is Smriti. Dharma Shastra Puranas. Then secondary sources, that is commentaries by great scholars. See, if I take something, one poem from Tirukural, no, or one poem from what do you call one sloka. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Kurave Namaha. This is in Sanskrit. So I cannot understand this. How can easily I tell it to my student? Slowly I tell, I worship my teacher who give me knowledge, and I follow his instructions so that I can safeguard myself from the enemies. Or in the other word, do not bring us to the test, but deliver us from evil. So these are all the things. So the commentaries by the great scholars are the secondary resources. From the comment, we identify the source. Then other sources, tantras and agamas, following the worships and rites. Agamangal. We have agamas means how the temples are built, how the home should build, how the industry should build. Any building, what is the protocols and blue book guidelines? This is called agamas. Then classification of text. Shruti means Shruti text. That is, it is from the God to the disciples. That is Shruti text, Upanishad and Brahman. Then Smriti means the disciples return that with a simple language. The Dharma Shastras and Puranas. Then other important texts means that is other ritual workshops. Then how the yet more simplified versions, tantras and agamas. So we don't need to go identify all the philosophies. Sometimes, no, in chemistry, what is the chemical formula for chemistry? H2O. That is a formula sutra. But the chemical professor will identify what is a hydrogen, where is the elementary table, what is his atomic number, what is his bond, what is oxygen, what is his atomic number, what is his volume, what is the covalent band, coordinate band, how both hydrogen and the oxygen are combined together to make water. See, this is called, this explanation is Smriti text. But the source, hydrogen and oxygen, how it is derived is Shruti text. So Shruti, Smriti, and other components. So this is the difference between Shruti and Smriti I have given. So H2, H, hydrogen and oxygen is described. Elementary, who found, who invented, who described, those scientists or our saints and rishis. That is Shruti. Then applying, identifying, using formulas, finding different components and materials. That is descriptions or innovations research by the that books and text are called as Smriti. Then example Tantra and then we are using that golden ring. I am having that golden chain. I am having that golden stud. So that is that techniques we are using that. So this is called Shruti and Smriti. So this is all about difference between Shruti and Smriti. Translated primary text we have Mahabharata, Ramayana. We knew that. Secondary resources. The last before Alexander's arrival, no, Adi Shankaracharya's commentary on Upanishad. Then philosophical treatise, we have the Patanjali Yoga Sastra. We knew that Bhaskaracharya mathematics and Charakar Ayurveda. So in every domain, we should go deep root and we should drive and drive the knowledge in that particular domain. So now 15 Vidyasthana. So Vidyasthana, there are 14 Vidyasthanas in that period, where Vidyasthanas means sacred places, that is schools. Gurukula, Vidya means knowledge or so wisdom. Vidya is the place schools of knowledge within Indian tradition. Examples Gurukula, Ashram, Shastrashala, Panchayatyan. So these are all the examples of Vidyasana. So Vidyasanas means they have given 18 Vidyasanas. They include Kavya, Dhanurvidya, Jyotisha Vidya. So in Vidyasanas, the syllabus, 18 types of Vidyasanas or places are available, and they have given more than 450 or an uncountable number of subjects they have given, all belonging to a particular domain. So Tantra Sukti and Tantra Yukti means a logical frame of or testing hypothesis within Indian epistemology. So purpose is ensures rigorous and systematic validation of knowledge. So validation means testing and analysis on questioning, answering, and justification, all these things. Then application is used in the fields, in all the main fields, yoga. uh, Actually Vedanta is the inner spiritual knowledge, that is after that death, how that the soul comes in, how where it is going, how long it will stay, the practices and the principles, everything. That is yoga, sankhya, and how to, what is the input food to the body, mind, and intellect, and then how to cure any disease comes, how to preserve the air going inside, what are all the healthy positions, all these things are that. So the Vidyasthanas is the Indian knowledge system referred to the specialized places. It is a sacred places of we have to worship our school, and the places of knowledge traditionally associated with the pursuit of education, learning, and wisdoms in the what field? Philosophy, literature, science, and spirituality. So there are Indian philosophy, Vidyasthana translate roughly to a place of knowledge. So the traditionally there are depending upon the interpretation 14 Vidyasanas, 18 also there, mainly 14 Gurukula, Ashrama, Panchayatyan, Tritha, Sastra Sala, Upanishad Vidya, Veda Vidya, Tantra Vidya, Yoga Vidya, Ayurveda Vidya. These are all the subjects. Dhanur Vidya, Kavya Vidya, Jyotisha Vidya, Rasa Vidya. Rasa Leela, Krishna Rasa Leela, no, that is romance, dancing. So this is called Vidyasthanas. Now this is the second theme, that is vocabulary. So mainly we should identify one word and its meaning used in that period. So Anubandha, Chatustyata, and Pancha Mahabuddhas, and Pancha Kosha, Pancha Prana. Pancha, we have to remember five elements and name the five elements, application of five elements, uses of five elements. Then Antakarna Chatyustaya, non-translatable concepts, which we cannot non-translate. That is, there is no equivalent word in any language. So they are called as, they follow as it is in the script. Important technology. So what is that Anubandha Chatyustya? a framework used in classical Indian philosophy and text for understanding the relationship between the text, the reader, and the knowledge. So, what is that? Anubandha. Anubandhamna, what is written in the book? Who is reading? What is that information? So, one is English is the text, Komla Lakshmi is the reader, and the Indian knowledge system is the knowledge. These three put together is called as Anubandha Chatusthya. So, four components are Adhikari. Adhikari means the competent student. Dr. J. Komla Lakshmi is the Adhikari who is reading. Then Vishaya. Vishaya means that Indian knowledge system. Then Prayojana. What is the purpose? Once I learned that Indian knowledge system, I can develop either my inner power, inner divine potential, or willpower, or at least I will know how to move with the people. Then Abhyasa. Abhyasa means practicing. Practice makes perfect. So Anubandha Chatusthya is having four components: Adhikari, Vishaya, Prayojana, Abhyasa. Then Pancha Mahabuddhas. So Pancha Mahabuddhas means, see, Bhuta in Sanskrit means the major components of the body. So water, land, fire element, water element, then air element, then earth. So this is called ether. Ether atom is illuminating atom in that space. No, so pancha means five. Mahabhuta means is the major component in major resources from which we every individual, every living creature is getting some inputs for their living. So that is pancha mahabhuta. That is Prithvi. Prithvi means earth, Apas means water, Tejas means fire. Then Vayu means air, Akasha means ether, that space. So this is the basis for all material existence and influences the body and the mind. So whenever we go and do exercises, when we are associated with the open resource, now we will get fresh air, we will get energy for the survival and functioning of the body. So that there are practices and rituals to be followed for the healthy living of every creature. So this is that Pancha Mahabhuta. Then Pancha Kosha. So they gave importance to the organizational structure of a body, human body. So that is Panchakosha. Organizational structure, how it is evolved. In a college, in an institution, we have that principal, next to principal, all the deans, then HODs, office administration, and HODs, physical staffs, faculty members, and students, infrastructures, labs, so many, clubs, all these things, no? So similarly, what is the Panchakosha of a human body? So they have studied that. They have called as Vedantic philosophy. Annamaya Kosha. Annamayam, without food we cannot exist. That is physical body is Annam means food. Annamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha means breathe, air. Pranayama means breathe. Pranamaya with. So, so food is from the earth. So, Annamayam physical body is directly dependent on earth, where Prithvi is supporting for the survival of physical body. Then Pranamaya Kosa is breathing exercises, breathing layer or a breathing sheet, which is that from that Vayu air. Then Manomaya Kosha is the mental strength. So it is like, no, it is that mental power. It is going, it is invisible. We see that Annamaya Kosha, we are able to see. After that, we can able to visualize only, no. That is called mental strength. Though that is called mental power, higher order thinking skills. Then Vijnana Maya Kosha. Vijnanam means science. So jnanam means that is what is the components, what is the purpose, what is the process, what is the output, what is the outcome. So everything is identifiable by a controlled, self-controlled man. So that that state of mind or intellect or cognitive, they call it as Vijnanamaya Gosha. Then Anandamaya Gosha. Anandamaya Gosha is no silence. So silence matters. We should keep silent. All the changes and transformations are happening silently in the world. It is happily happening. What we are seeing now is a silent contribution of a tree, is a silent contribution of this pancha mahabhutas. So this is called pancha koshas, then pancha pranas. Now I come to the that spiritual level layer. No, we should not raise our voice to some extent. To that is noise pollution. So we have to maintain that volume of our speech. We should, that is called that what do you call skills, communication skills, how to speak politely, how to speak authoritatively. See, there is that a level or a sting, no, that is Panchama Kosha. Now it is Pancha Prana, the vital energy that govern bodily function. Prana is, that is Pancha Prana, Prana, Aparna, Dhyana, and then udhana, upward energy. Udhana na upward energy for speech. So uthara vidhanam, that is no, that uthara from upward side, the speech and aspiration, everything comes in the upper part. Samana, that is digestive balances. Samana na lower part of the body. So this is called pancha pranas. Next one is antakarana satyushtaya. That is antakarana satyushtaya means fourfold inner instrument. So what is that fourfold instrument? We know that physical body, next to that associated with the food input from the earth, then that next body, that prana kosha, pranamaya kosha through air. Before that, all the three we are not able to see it, but we can sense it. That senses, that emotional organ should be transmitted to sensible contributions. So for which we need that intellect, that ahamkara. To work that intellect, we should remove that ahamkara. When we have that ahamkara, we cannot have that sense. We will go behind that sensory organs. We cannot control the sensory organs, and we follow the emotions. Then manas. Mana is that emotional processor. It calculate. Fear means either what happened we cannot change but kept on thinking and worrying. So if the same thing happen, what will happen then? Assuming it, applying it for future. So that is so psychology is all about with manas and chitta. Chittam means consciousness. Suttam. Sittam is consciousness. So it is the highermost conscious part. If we stay fit and control our emotions and started connecting and communicating in the Wi-Fi media with the cosmic energy, then our physical body disappears and prana kosha disappears and our mana is controlled and our intellect is attaining the eternal stable state, that is consciousness, that is neutral mind. We don't go either to the emotion or we don't follow non emotional activities. So the concept of pancha pranas refers to the five types of life energy within the body. So introduction to non translatable concepts. So, Indian philosophical cultural terms, we cannot translate it to any other form. It is as such we have to follow. Dharma. Dharma means righteousness, moral order. Punya means merit. So, if I heard something, Bhava, is there any? I would like to see. It was given, but not here. It is mentioned. Punya means making everyone happy without disturbing, without hurting anybody. Doing something, that is that action and its reflections and its reactions and its outcome stored in that hereditary, accumulated in that cosmic energy is called as punya, and the atma is the self or the soul. Then karma is the action and sequence, and moksha, that is liberation. So liberation means making our soul neutral, not following the emotions and emotional reactions, or not judging others, not doing any judgment, not doing any hurt, doing our work, being good, doing good, and being neutral and saturated, satisfied, content life, it becomes moksha. Then yajna, that is that doing some homa, cultivating that fire and then Sakti with the energy power, Shakti. We have that power of doing some actions, that is Shakti. Varna means that is social classes. This Varna is that makes that the whole what you call whole goodness, makes it as difference, and the entire splitting is done based on this Varna. Then Jati, we knew that caste, then that is itihasa, historical stories, and Purana, ancient text and stories. These are all the above are considered as non-translatable script. Then importance, we have to identify the terminology. We cannot change those script. We have to follow as it is. Otherwise, if we misinterrupt that, then there will be some, accordingly the outcome will be associated, and that results will be shown. Then third one is methods in IKS. So what is methods? So introduction, building and testing hypothesis using the methods in Tantra Yukti. So Tantra Yukti and the concept of Purva Paksha, Uttara Paksha and Nigraha Sthana. So Tantra Yukti means logical reasoning, argumentation used in classical Indian philosophy. So we can Nyaya and Mimamsa is a, so we can argue, is it right? It is not wrong. Why it is right? So this is called. We can ask ourselves why it happened. So self logical analysis process. It is we can argue with the elderly persons so that we can create a, so identifying the problem and creating the solution to the problem, decision making, everything comes under the creative, critical thinking comes to this philosophy of Tantra Yukti. So building and testing hypothesis is due to debates. See, for debates and creating framework for knowledge and assessing the validity. Then hypothesis observation, we have to follow hypothesis formation and reasoning evidences we have to produce. This is that research methodology. So all the creative thinking are following Tantra Yukti. So testing hypothesis, Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means directly come into action. So Anumana, that is we are assuming something and we are delivering some task. Then Upamana, we are giving comparison. Then Shaba, that is verbal testimony, means we are with a deliberate scholarly description or exchange of information, that is called verbal testimony. Then introduction of pramanas. So one's means of knowledge are tools to validate the truth or the statement. Pramana means in court we know what I am telling is true, true, true to the best of my knowledge. So a declaration statement is called as pramanas. So pratyaksha, the direct evidence, and the anupana, hearing evidence, all these can taken as that evidences, pramanas. Then validity of pratyaksha is a clear and direct without error. Anupama must be unvalid, so with sound inference. Upamana is valid only when comparisons are apt. Sabda. Sabda valid if it comes from reliable and authoritative source. So voice interruptions. So definition of Purva Paksha. Purva Paksha means what na? The opponent's position and argument. Purva Paksha means thinking from others' point of view, what they will say. So when we are going to defend our thesis, no, we will find these are all the question, anticipated question. Then we will started finding this answers to those questions. So Purva Paksha is the opponent's position and argument. So role in the debate, understanding Uttara Paksha. So Uttara Paksha means response or rebuttal to the Purva Paksha. So whoever is rising, no, we have to defend our thesis. We have to respond to those questions, no. So that is called Uttara Paksha, Paksha. Then Nigraha Sthana. Nigraha means the place of debate where objection are refuted. So Nigrahana, we have conquired and we have proven that what is our point is correct, and we have made the other party disappear. That is Nigraha Sadhana. So in the summary, we have Tantra Yukti, Pramanas and Purva Paksha, Uttara Paksha. You can remember it in the court, that where the debate or anything to be proved, the hypothesis to be tested, that kind of session, no? These are called associated with that. Somebody is rising and we are contributing, counterattacking, respondent, dependent, all these things are common summary. So I take this opportunity to thank Indian knowledge to system, and the system is input, process, output. So I have given some input, you have to process that and you have to give your contribution at output. And I take this opportunity to thank MMTTC, Amravati University. I thank you, sir. Now I stop sharing my slide. Can you please give me your questions?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. The participants, the forum is open for the discussion. If you have any queries or the question, you can directly ask to Dr. Kolama Lakshmi, ma'am. Please, anyone. Ma'am, one question has been received through the YouTube.
Yes.
Question is that the Constitution of the India are providing the rational and scientific thinking. Thereafter, the NEP was also focused on the rational and scientific thinking. In such era of the rational and scientific thinking, is this thing, whatever may be the presentation you have delivered there, these are relevant?
Relevant?
These are the relevant, whether these things are relevant. The questioner is that the NEP and the Constitution of India provides the scientific as well as the rational thinking.
Yes.
More focus on the rational and scientific thinking.
Yes.
In the present scenario, whatever may be the thing, whatever you have delivered through the presentation, is this relevant in the present scenario? This is the question.
Yes, yes, yes. It is needed and the required one. We are in the artificial intelligence and technology era. So the rational thinking means that it is not between the crass creed. That is not like that. So the rational thinking is how to support the global scenario. What is one problem means whether involving to that problem, participating actively. So that is called that rational thinking. So that any particular disaster comes now, how can we expand our helping hand, or we have to keep quiet? Is it none of our business, or it should not be, it is not correct, that and all is not there. So rational thinking means according to the technology era, we have to think differently and smartly so that everyone live in a harmony in that constitutional aspects. So that is called a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So affecting these philosophies, we should not think under any umbrella. So we should think that we have to preserve that sovereign, socialist, secular republic. We have to develop higher order thinking skills. I think my justification is okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes. The question is okay right now. Is there any another question from the participants? If you have any query or the questions, you can directly ask, or we can conclude this session. Ma'am, I think there is no more questions or the queries from the participant sides. So, if you could permit, shall we conclude, ma'am?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. We can
So, on
conclude.
behalf
Please
of the
give your conclusion.
Malvi Mission Teacher Training Center, Sant Gadge Baba Amravati University, I extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Kolama Lakshmi ma'am for being with us, enlighten us, and gives us the clear-cut roadmap to adoption of this Indian knowledge system. uh, on the basis of very scientific and the constitutional on the basis of the very scientific and the constitutional way. Definitely, ma'am, there are n number of things that are already available with our Vedas and Puranas, but in some decades or in some years or in some decades we have forget that, and definitely the government has come up with that solution that the NEP should introduce this IKS system, and our society will be made more valuable, and more universal value should be inculcated in our students, and ultimately our society will benefit from us. So we are really thankful to you for such a wonderful and insightful session on the IKS, and I will also extend my sincere thanks to all the participants for their patience listening and active participation. And with the kind consent of Dr. Kolama Lakshmima, I would like to declare that this session will be over here and we will stop now. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, and thank you, everyone. We will meet tomorrow with our tomorrow schedule.